Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Capital to the Coast BNI. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a local small business success story from one of our 37 chapters, covering from the Triangle, which is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, all the way to Jacksonville and New Bern and points in between. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our job as members each week and our goal each week is to follow the giver's gain mentality and help our fellow members grow their business. And our local small business success story this week is Devin Desjarlais with Devin Desjarlais Photography. She is a member of RDO9. Their name is Carpex. They meet Wednesdays at noon at BJ's Brew House on Dillard Drive in Cary. Devin, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to have you on the show today. So, we're going to talk about while your title is photographer, you're really a storyteller.
Correct.
And I'm concerned that people are going to think, oh, my phone will record everything I need. And I can say this, while it works in a pinch, it just doesn't solve the whole problem, does it?
Correct. Well, and Mike, think about this. How many of the phones on your photo are how many photos on your phone are up on your wall?
None.
How many are in a photo album?
Oh, what's a photo album? I know
Exactly.
what it is.
Right. So think about your kids and your grandkids and your great grandkids and so on and so forth. The way we know about future generations of our own family is through the photos, through the stories that our ancestors tell that are passed down. And without that documentation, at some point, like who we are today is going to cease to exist. And so, my job as a photographer, as a family photographer, is to capture your story as it exists right now in a way that looks and feels authentic to your family's love and joy so that you can enjoy it now, today, but so future generations also know what your family's love looked and felt like in this moment in time.
Yeah, and I'm in that grandparent club, which, by the way, best club ever. So I'm seeing it on both ends because I was raised with photo albums. I know at some point in time, my mom, I've got an older sister, younger brother. She gave each of us a photo album with pictures of us and the family. So still have it. Don't ever want to lose it. But I
Hmm.
also watch how many pictures my grandkids and other grandkids are in from a phone. And I
Hmm.
think at some point in time, like, oh, I got pictures. I'll get to them one day. And I don't know if that one day is ever going to come.
Right. Well, and what if you lose your phone? What if you lose
Yep.
the password to your account? Those are then gone in the cloud. And really, what we've had, what our ancestors, what future generations, when I say ancestors, but really like, cameras have only been around for so long, right?
Yep.
It only goes back so many years. They were snapshots, but today those snapshots, are less intentional because we've got more space available to us to capture these memories than ever before. Where previously, our ancestors, our family members were using rolls of film. So they had just like a select few amount that they could take at one time. And so, you know, family photography is um, almost less about the actual photos you receive, but the experience of slowing down and intentionally capturing what this looks like, intentionally thinking through what is this story that is true to us, what does our love look like, what does our joy look like, and then how do we slow down and capture it during an hour, 2 hours, where we can just solely focus on each other without the noise. And then obviously, like the photos and the resulting like products that you might purchase after the fact, whether from me or for literally any other site out there, are added benefits.
Yeah, and we've got 3 family gatherings this calendar year, none of which are in Raleigh, otherwise I would call you. But
Always.
my whole mindset is I'm so happy we're all together because
Hmm.
I've got 2 grandkids in Charlotte, 2 grandkids in Florida, and
Hmm.
I have a picture of my family of 10 on the refrigerator so I can see it every day. And that's
Hmm.
the value for me is we're together.
Right.
And I know you get great joy in you're talking about you had 4 shoots this weekend, and
Hmm.
while you missed your kids, you knew you were having a big impact on a lot of families.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and that really fills my cup. This is the best job I've ever had, and that's part of the reason is I get to spend time with people who are willing to open their homes, open their hearts, and share their joy with a stranger.
Yep. And so we're going to get some of those jobs because I always like to hear how people got to where they are and what you bring with you. So we're going to get to that.
Sure.
Uh, I'm on your website over the weekend doing my intel for the show here. And who got you laughing in your picture? Such a good smile.
Thank you. Um, I'm trying to remember which one it is. Is it the one with the mountains in the background, or is it the one with the white backdrop?
The mountains.
Okay. I was at a photography retreat with these two professional family photographers who I have admired for a very, very long time. This was last May in Portland, Oregon. And we had just come off of the second shoot of the workshop. It was over the course of 3 days. It was at the Columbia River Gorge
Mhm.
in Washington State. I mean, and I was just elated. I was free and light, and I was getting to create with like-minded individuals next to photographers that I have put on a pedestal for a very long time. And so, one of the other photographers who was part of the workshop took that photo of me, but I was happy. I was
It
joyful.
it worked. It worked because that jumped out at me because I and one of the things when I do training for BNI people or BNI chapters is your professional headshot is not a picture. First of all, it's not your logo. Second of all, it's not a picture of your dog in your Jeep on the beach. And so when I go to people's websites, even in BNI, I look, it's like, that's not a professional headshot. I can't recognize you. Wait, if we're meeting at Panera, I can't
Hmm.
recognize you if I'm looking to meet you when you walk in the door and I don't know you. So kudos to the smile on your face for that picture because it said a lot.
Thank you.
All right, I'm also a fan of names, and we briefly touched on this before we came on the air. First names and last names. And I'm about to get a story about your last name I didn't see coming. So fire away.
All right. Well, my last name is Desjarlais, as you guys know. My father was the youngest of seven, but of those seven, there were only three boys, and of those three boys, all of them had girls. And so the Desjarlais family name, despite there being so many first cousins, so many siblings, aunts, and uncles, is effectively kind of stopping in my family line. My dad and my husband had a really, really great relationship for the couple of years that they knew each other. And my husband does not have a good relationship with his father. His last name originally was Smith, I should say. And so when we got married, I was having a really hard time with this idea of letting go of my last name. One, because it is so cool, and it goes really well with my first name. But it's so important to me coming from this big family and having this identity of being close to my own family. I was having a hard time with this idea of taking the last name Smith, but also really wanted the traditionalism of having one last name for a family and having this like tight combined unit. And my husband was the one to suggest that he take my last name because he
Wow.
wanted to honor my father as somebody who was near and special to him. And I'll tell you one thing really quickly, but my dad passed away in 2016, just 2 years after we got married. But it brings me so much joy to know that my dad got to see my husband take my last name, got to
Nice.
see him, honor him in that way. But my husband even took it one step further. We are both former journalists for Village Voice Media Group. We have friends who are still journalists, very successful ones, and one who is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. At the time, was connected to the op-ed editor for Time Magazine, and this was, I think, 2015, and she was looking for somebody to write about a man to write about taking their partner's last name. And so my husband did. And so that story is now memorialized on Time Magazine's website.
Wow. Good stuff. Now, where does Desjardins come from? What country?
It's French. My grandmother was from the like near Quebec. But my understanding from like very brief genealogy research is that the Desjardins last name, everybody originally came from one man in France in the 1600s.
Let me guess, you growing up, people, I don't know if they butchered it more saying it or spelling it, right?
Definitely saying it. I
Yeah.
grew up with the telemarketers that would call your home line, and
Yeah.
that's how we always knew just to hang up.
Yep. I get that when somebody calls asking for Michael, I'm like, "Not here." Click.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are your kids, are they getting the hang of saying it and spelling
They
it?
are.
Good,
Yeah, not
good.
spelling it. I mean, my kids are still young. They're 7, 4, and 2. So,
Yeah.
we're not pushing that yet. The fact that they know their first, middle, and last name and their birthday is
I
pretty
know.
good.
We were going over that with our youngest granddaughter yesterday, full name, and yeah, so
Mhm.
those are fun things. So, all right, one of the things you had in your website as inspiration, Aaron Paul, an
Oh.
actor, Breaking Bad, and is it Better Call Saul?
Mhm.
Said your story is he told you to follow your dreams. So, what's the context of that?
So, my husband and I grew up in South Florida. We got together and very quickly decided to move to Los Angeles. We never wanted to stay in South Florida. I joke that I call it my bad place. It's just never held anything for me. But Los Angeles had a lot of job opportunities for the roles that we were in at the time. And I had one initial interview with a startup that's called Omaze. They're no longer in the US anymore, but they are huge in the UK. And so we kind of took a leap and we moved there. I ended up working for Omaze for a little over a year. And what they were doing at the time was they were democratizing once in a lifetime experiences to raise money for charitable causes. So they would say something, for example, this is a true example. Um, Fly with a friend to Los Angeles and watch the series finale of Breaking Bad with Aaron Paul in the cast. Um, and so we hosted a giveaway like that in the experience, and we ended up raising 1.8 million for Aaron Paul's wife's charity, which
Wow.
combats girl against girl bullying in schools. And so it was during that time I got to spend a lot of time with Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston and the rest, Bob Odenkirk, Saul, the rest of the cast. And Aaron is just a lovely, lovely human being, just like down to earth, very kind, like really goes out of his way for fans. And we were on a call shortly before the actual experience happened, kind of figuring out, how to coordinate some logistics of the experience. And I joked about wanting to become a professional bedazzler. And he said, Devin, you should follow your dreams. Don't let anybody hold you back. And so it's just one of those funny stories that I've held on to. And I like throwing it into my bio because
Yeah.
it kind of piques people's interest.
But it's kinda who we are. I mean, those moments
Mhm.
matter. I mean, I don't know, do you still bedazzle?
I do not still bedazzle.
Okay, right.
No, I have far less time than I used to.
Yeah, well, I bet you do, yeah, so,
Right.
alright, so the dream for your own business, and
Mhm.
then your dream of that business would be a photography business, how far back does that go?
It goes back to college. So that is so I'm dating myself now. I was in college from 2007 to 2011. And I had dreams, I have dabbled in photography for a long time, and my interests have ranged from, high school snapshots of friends, processing photos in the darkroom, to landscape, to street photography and urban exploration in Los Angeles. And then I really became drawn to families when I started my own family. Um, but it was sometime in college. I was standing outside the House of Blues in Orlando, Florida, waiting in line for a concert, and I was talking to a friend about wanting to pursue photography as a career. And at the time, I was thinking, wedding photography. And a woman in line next to us said, "Oh, don't do that. You don't make any money. You're miserable. You're working every weekend." And for some reason, that was enough to put me off of this dream for so long, until almost 3 years ago. I was 6 months pregnant with my third child, and I thought, now's the time. And I went all in.
And what finally had to come together? We're talking finances, kids, family, spouses, all that stuff for you to start this photography business.
I think it was a big mix of a lot of different things. At the time, my husband had a really lucrative job. He was miserable, but it was very
Mm.
lucrative. We now both own our own businesses, I should say. But it was, I think it was more a desperation to get back to having some sort of control over my time so that I could be there more with my family. I was working in the nonprofit space. We had been working I felt like a million miles a minute throughout COVID. And by this point, this was mid 2023, I was beyond burnt out and I was very pregnant. And I was realizing that I just couldn't continue the way I had. And I wanted to do something that felt soul filling. And I didn't have anything to lose because at that point I'd already committed to leaving my job at the time. By the time my son was born, they knew that. And my thought process was, you know what? I'm going to put this out there and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to see if something comes from it and see how big I can make this. And I'm honestly surprised by where I am today and so grateful.
I always like to see if there's a gene that's passed down from generations. Usually in the creative world, there is. Is there
Mhm.
anybody in your gene pool that was a photographer?
Not a photographer by trade, but my father, I have some of his old. He made like pinhole cameras in college, and would shoot film on these like pinhole cameras, and so I have some of those. But my grandmother, my dad's mom, was a muralist, and then my father, while he started in graphic design and advertising, this is before computers, so everything was kind of done by hand. He became a holistic practitioner, which is not necessarily an art form, but is like a creative
Mhm.
version of modern medicine.
That it is. Anybody in your family tree a small business owner?
My mother.
Okay. So,
Hmm.
what did you get from her as you watched her start and run her business?
Uh, I saw her obsession. And I mean that in the best way because for many years I did not understand. I mean, she lives 10 minutes from me. She still works 7 days a week. She is constantly, working on, finding clients, perfecting her curriculum, so to speak, for her clients. She's constantly, trying to figure out how to improve and build. And for so many years, I was like, I'm exhausted. Like like watching you. I only want a 9 to 5, which 9 to 5
Yeah.
is not real anymore. I want to know exactly where my money's coming from and how much money, and I want, stability of insurance. And now it's like I understand when you are passionate about something and you are so in love with what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, I'm with you. So real quick, what's your mom's business?
So my mom is a hypnotist in Wake Forest, North Carolina.
Oh, very nice.
Hmm.
Would you like to in the name of her company? Do you
I
want to give
would.
that out? Please do.
Can I? Oh gosh.
You can pull it
It,
up. What so
Thank you.
while you're doing that, what's your husband's company?
So my husband owns a YouTube marketing agency. It's called a multi-channel network.
Nice.
There used to be many, many, many big ones that were then sold off to companies like WB and Disney and closed down. But he works with brands on YouTube to and advises them on content strategy, search engine optimization, monetization in order to help them grow their revenue.
All right. Well, I think I need to buy your husband a cup of coffee. I have
I'm
questions.
sure he would love
I
that.
have many questions. So, um, what's the biggest thing you've learned so far about being a business owner?
Oh, before I answer that, my mother's company is Sharon Jackman Hypnosis.
A hypno. Wow. Did she ever
Hmm.
do that to you? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a sister. She's 7 years younger than me. She has not done it to us in particular. She's very respectful
Okay.
of, when and if we want to do that. But my own sister has seen a hypnotist for certain things, and it has helped her a lot.
Yeah, my mom was a growing up. My mom was a school psychologist here in Wake. And my
Hmm.
brother and sister and I were like, we're not going to be any part of that. So she would grab our friends when they come over to play, and she would sit down with them and end up walking through the test with that. So it's kind of interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of our friends like your mom's so cool. She's a big help. I'm like, man, you're sitting for that stuff. So, but yeah. So again, just the parent connection to that stuff. So, so the biggest thing you learned was passion. What? How were you find? How did you start finding out? Well, let me back up. On day one, how did you tell everybody you were open for business?
I put a post on all my social media channels. So I've had a photography Instagram for years, and so that kind of already had a built-in following there. I put it out on my LinkedIn, I put it out on my own social channels, and I captured the interest of somebody who's now a good friend of mine. She and I a went through kind of a leadership training program locally when she was working for a big financial institution and I was working for a nonprofit locally. And then she moved into real estate and she does fall mini photo sessions for her clients. And she was in
Oh,
need of a photographer. And so that has like she has been the greatest blessing to my career, and like the biggest break I could have gotten because she was the first person to hire me, which then introduced me to other families. I've done that work. I've done that for her for 3 years now, her and her team as they've grown, and just she's so incredible about referring me to people that she meets. That I think I would have had a much harder time if she hadn't seen that post right away, or if
sit.
she had had another photographer that she loves.
Oh yeah. I love those moment in time things that happen that, wow, if that hadn't, imagine if I didn't answer the phone that day and she had called somebody else, things like that. So I'm a huge fan of those. So, which
Me
should
too.
tell
Me too.
business owners, answer your phone.
Right.
Or
Right.
or at least call them back quickly. Don't call because back in my day, it was like, "We promised to get back to you within 24 hours." Yeah, that's not working today. You get,
Mm-mm.
like,
No.
7 minutes, and then they're calling the next line, so, um,
Yep.
so what got you connected to BNI?
That same person, actually. She was applying for the realtor seat at the Carpex BNI chapter, and they had had a photographer who had left, and she found out and invited me to come join. At the time, I thought I had already committed to a 5 month mastermind program, and I thought I don't know if I have the capacity for this. That's a lot of time during the week. But I came and I visited, and I could quickly see the value in being in a room with people who can learn to know and trust you and know and trust your work. And this is really the year that that child that I was pregnant with when I started this company is now 2.5. And I'm finally at a point where I have the capacity to really put pedal to the metal. And so this is the year that when I said originally, I want to see how big I can make this. This is the year that I really want to try to put my stake in the ground, and really see how big I can make this. And I feel like BNI is going to be a crucial piece to that.
Tell me about the evolution of your elevator pitch,
Evolution.
and what
Oh,
did you start asking for, and what are you asking for now?
yeah. Okay. So my elevator pitch, I tailor my elevator pitch depending on who's in the room and what my needs are at the time. So I will always mention I am a lifestyle family photographer. So that means that my job is to capture what your love and joy looks like naturally by putting you in positions that are normally not natural at all. But what comes out of it are these really interesting visuals that feel honest and real to people. I might tailor it to say, "Hey, I've got spring minis coming up. If you know anybody, let's mention this." Or I want to mention this. Or I might say, I'm expanding into school portraits. So you have kids that are in preschools or in elementary schools, and they're looking for a photographer. I'd love to be in touch with them, so on and so forth. But what I realized at the not what I realized, what I got brave enough to start sharing with people at the beginning of this year is my ultimate goal is to become the go-to photographer in the triangle for neurodivergent and medically complex families. And I started kind of exploring this path through a Facebook post that got a lot of really incredible feedback on a local like community group, and then through BNI. And it's funny, I will give my elevator pitch every week, and we'll have some of the same returning visitors, we'll have the same applicants, but without fail, the thing that people really remember and like kind of hold on to is that neurodivergent and medically complex families piece.
Yep, I'm with you because it's different, so it stands out, but it's a very specific ask, and it makes us think for a second. I think I know somebody instead of like,
Hmm.
hey, I want to meet any small business owner. You know,
Right.
So if I may offer you a tip, don't forget us grandparents. We want pictures of our grandkids. We want family pictures. So I always tell people we're still young at heart. We still get together with family. So hammer away at us because we'll spend money for pictures.
Hey, introduce me to any grandparents you know. I love extended family sessions. I did
Yes.
one shortly after Christmas last year in Chapel Hill. A family hired me because their daughter was turning 3, and they had her grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins, and then even her great grandmother flew in from Mexico to come spend time with her, and they were hosting all of them. So she's like, I want photos of my daughter being surrounded by love. I want to see my husband and I reflected in like the loving chaos that comes with hosting all these people in our home. And it was just, I mean, it was the best 2 hours that I've had recently, because it was just, there was so much joy and love, and getting to see the great grandmother especially just really light up around her granddaughters was so special. And those are photos that, who knows what's going to happen with this family, they're hopefully they continue to live out long lives together, but like they now have these photos, and great grandmother has these photos to cherish
Yep.
of them all together.
Yeah. I Nothing beats family time. Absolutely nothing beats family time. So I'm glad you're
Amen.
there to help them.
Amen.
Your biggest referral or your first of big referrals came from what source? You remember back that far?
I mean, it would have been that realtor that I told you about.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you thinking of something else that I've shared?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Just always like to find,
Um,
think about again because we got it as business owners. We have to know where the calls are coming from, and
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
sometimes there's a good story, but your first one with her reaching out to you is a wonderful story just to help get you started.
It was incredible. And my biggest driver of business is word of mouth. Word of mouth referrals, because it's one thing to see my photos and to love my style. I'm not everybody's style. I'm not a light and airy photographer. And there are plenty of those in the triangle. I love color and contrast and moodiness and real feelings. If you want the family of the perfect Southern family standing in a pecan grove and their dresses and like their nice button down shirts, like I'm happy to work with you. But I want the families where like the kids literally can't sit still.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's when you then work with me, it's both the experience of working with me and the resulting photos that you get. That's where people really get it. And they're like, okay, I want everybody to know about you.
Yeah, because we have a family, so we've got 4 grandkids. Our oldest granddaughter, Maggie, who will be
Love that name.
4 in a couple of love the name too, yeah. Who will be 4 in a couple of months, have a picture with her when she was 2, and everybody in the picture was smiling except Maggie.
Hmm.
Love
Love
it.
it.
I do too. I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
I love that.
Uh, so what's a couple things you do, actions or activities weekly or so that you continue to do to help get word out about your and grow your business?
So I have put a lot of work into my search engine optimization for my website. So I commit to writing 1 or 2 blog posts a week based on specific key terms that I am trying to reach or trying to bolster. So they can be anything from, more popular key terms like Raleigh family photographer, Raleigh family photography, to maybe less popular ones like um, neurodivergent family
Mm,
photographer near me. And so that's been really beneficial and helpful. And then I also committed this year to sending out email newsletters at least once a week to my email group, and just kind of sharing not necessarily what I have going on. I'm not trying to sell all the time, because really, who wants that? But sharing more of my personality and my thought process, and just a little bit more about who I am. So, like for example, my newsletter, not in 2 weeks, will focus on just a handful of unhinged things my kids have said to
yep.
me recently. Because I want families who also have wild, amazing, crazy, thoughtful, bizarre kids to see themselves in me, so that they feel comfortable with me.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I love the power of selling without selling because a lot
Hmm.
of times I'm with you. We do not have to sell every time because they'll opt out whatever we're emailing them. But
Right.
those newsletters, you're just waving at people. Still here.
Right.
Oh yeah, by the way,
Hmm.
got a hilarious story. Check this out. Got a new recipe. But again, people are buying people so they can find your competitors in about an hour and have
Right.
somebody at their house by Thursday, but will it be the right person? So I love the fact that you're doing that, and that will attract so many more people than it will detract. It will send people running from you. More will come running towards you. So I love that about. Uh, but you got to promote yourself. You got to so
Yes.
big.
Yeah, unfortunately, you do have to cut through the noise. So it's not,
Yep.
it's you can't just be a great photographer and a great human being who's a delight to be around. Like you still have to continually remind people that you're here.
Oh yeah. One of the more important parts of being a small business owner, first of all, it's a leap of faith in yourself. Second of all, family is involved, whether they're
Mhm.
officially or unofficially. So you and your husband Jacob have three kids, loud, three loud kids, as you put on your website. Which
Yes.
again, love it because all kids are loud. They're not the
Hmm.
best. Facebook does a disservice to parents who lied that say these are the most well-behaved kids ever. No, they're not.
Right.
They
Right.
just aren't. Right? Okay, there are not perfectly behaved kids 24/7. So just stop with that. Right? So I always love asking the question for married couples. So how did you and Jacob meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
We do tell the story the same way. We met, we were both editors in chief of our college newspaper down in South Florida. He was editor in chief when he was getting his master's. I couldn't legally consume alcohol when I was doing it, but somehow they gave me access to an $80,000 budget and 15-person staff. And I was a young person. I was struggling with leadership. And so our mentor, who was also his mentor early in his career, suggested I reach out to him. And at the time, he was engaged to somebody else. He was living in Washington D.C. and then Pittsburgh. And so I sought him out for advice. We stayed in touch. This was when Twitter was really popular, so we would just like kind of tweet things back at each other and news articles. We had a lot in common. Um, and he eventually broke off the relationship that he had, not because of me, but because it wasn't working for him, and moved home. And it was during that time he ended up renting an apartment a block from me. And it was during that time we really got to know each other. And it wasn't long after that I essentially moved in with him because my lease was up. I stayed over a couple nights, and by the second night, I said, should I leave? Do you want some space? And he said, oh, I'll let you know when I need space. And he just, it's been 12 years, well,
Nice.
15 years.
Okay.
He never did. 4 months after we started dating, we got engaged. We moved to Los Angeles, and yeah, we celebrated 12 years married in January of this year.
Congratulations. So where was
Thank
the
you.
official first date?
Where was the official first date? We went to brunch at, I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but we went to brunch at a place on the beach in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
And what school did you two meet at?
Florida Atlantic University
Okay. The
in Boca
Owls,
Raton.
right?
The
Yeah.
Owls. Yep.
Okay. All right. So when you first met, the first time you talked, what's the time frame before you guys talked again or even saw each other?
That's a great question. You're asking me to go back
Yep.
over
You're
a
young.
decade.
You've only been married 15 years. Come on. You can do it.
I'm working on it. Um, let's see. Remember, it was probably 6 months to a year in between the first conversation
Okay.
and then actually meeting him in person. So one of the things that our the newspaper advisor did, or what we did as part of electing the new editor in chief, was we have these mock interviews. So whoever was interested in becoming editor in chief had to fill out this kind of really comprehensive application, kind of had to campaign, and then did a group interview where they sat in front of the entire newspaper staff as well as professionals in the field and were grilled hard. Like it was stressful, especially for a young person. And so he loved to come back and grill those editors in chief. And he did not come back. When he came back in that role, he did not come off as a kind person. And so the first time I met him in person, I was like, I don't know about this guy. I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to see him again.
Yeah.
Because it was a tough experience to be at the receiving end. This was when I was applying to be at the receiving end of so many hard and intentionally controversial questions. But yeah, we did stay in touch, and I'm glad we did.
In previous jobs, you were, if I wrote this down right, You told narratives for United Way, Pokemon, AT&T, Walmart, amongst other companies.
Yes.
Uh, or sum up that told narratives. I was intrigued by that phrase, and I do like.
Thank you. So, like I mentioned, I started my career in journalism. Very quickly realized that was not the correct role for me, but my skills have long been in writing and storytelling. And so I intentionally explored all aspects of storytelling in the roles that I could find. So with Omaze, I was head of social media. I went from there to be head of public relations for an independent ad agency in Los Angeles. That's where I worked with brands like Pokemon and AT&T and T and Walmart. I got somebody on the Forbes 30 under 30 list. I mean, I just had some of like my coolest career advancements in that time. And then eventually went to be head of communications for United Way of Greater Los Angeles and head of marketing and storytelling for United Way of the Greater Triangle. But the main so the common denominator in all of these roles was narrative storytelling. So whether it was um, telling stories about the celebrities and the nonprofits I worked at Omaze in order to attract people to social media in order to drive donations, whether it was how I shaped stories about brands for other reporters so that they could write their own stories about our clients through public relations, or whether it was telling the stories of people experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles, for example, to um, humanize the experience and also help people empathize with the challenges that people experiencing homelessness go through. All of these are couched in narratives, right? It's like, and that is what all humans kind of have in common, no matter who you meet. Like, we all have stories to tell. Stories are our history. Stories are how history has been passed down over generations. Folklore has been passed down. I mean, it's at the center of our very existence. And so when I talk about my career, I intentionally use terms like narrative to remind folks that storytelling is at the heart of who we are, and how we choose to tell those stories um, doesn't change that one truth.
Nope, and I agree with you. So combining what you learned, because back then you were figuratively looking through a lens. So
Correct.
combining what you were looking for, now you're a mom. So now when you're behind the camera and you're trying to get grandma and grandfather and 12 other people in a picture, what kind of things do you look for to help them tell their story?
Um, I like to tell people I am hopelessly nostalgic. I am already nostalgic for right now, even though we are in it. And so that's the lens that I try to view my clients and their families that I work with through. So, how would they want to see their love, their physical touch? What kind of details would they like memorialized? So one of the things I like to do for families is I like to get stacks of hands on top of each other, because the shape and size of a child's hand or an older adult's hand like is very like very honest to where they are in their life right now visually. um and really just I also so with neurotypical families, typically, unless they want to, I don't normally have a conversation with them beforehand. I'm always very very happy to, but like try to be aware of people's capacity. But I have a questionnaire. Well, they'll give me details on what they want, and that's where I like to hear things like, we want to see I want to see my partner and I as hosts, in this chaotic space. That is very specific to a family. Um, if they don't give me that, that's when I really lean, like, give me details like that. That's where I really lean into like love and joy and connection. And so I'll prompt that either through literal prompts, encouraging them to explore activities, or to, you know, um, run in circles around each other, play chase, leapfrog, piggyback rides, things like that. To certain poses where I'm putting them in poses not because the pose is beautiful, although it is, but to watch it unfold and watch what they naturally do together. Because families that really genuinely want to be around each other and love each other, you put them close to each other, they'll naturally just start pulling each
Yeah,
other in and like touching and holding and like, and that's where I think you really get the heart of a family story.
I agree. Do you take pictures before you're going to count us down 3, 2, 1, just to get those casual? Nobody knows they're getting uh, shot yet.
No, I don't play that trick on people. What I'll typically do is I'll start with, one post photo, like, all right, let's get one that grandma really wants on her mantle kind of thing. Or let's get one for the Christmas card. And then I'll say, oh, okay, now like pull each other in tight. All right,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, tickle. And then like I'll go, oh yeah, this is so fun. And I'll just keep talking to them throughout the entire thing. So they forget that it's there and it's more
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, we're just having a great time. And that's, I mean, I have found people tend to let down their guard really easily, when I'm just in it with them, and I really love that.
Yeah. And they feed off because there's always that one family member that's all in for the funny
Yes.
face or the goofy pose. They're all in, and everybody
Mhm.
kind of jumps in line with them. So I'm
Right.
with you on that.
And for the ones who aren't, I do try and find ways to engage them. So a good example of this is I had a family this last weekend, a family of four. And the kids are four kids, I should say. The kids are all age ranges, but the oldest is 14, the youngest is 3. And so it was like 14, 10, 5, and 3. And the 14-year-old, bless her, she's 14. She
Yeah.
didn't want to be there. But I knew that I had a session the following day with a family with 2 teenagers. And I said, hey, you're a teenager. Can I pick your brain? I forget what it was like. And so I like got her talking to me, and actually I did get some good advice on how to support the family the next day. But I got her, opening up and talking to me, and I was genuinely interested in her experience. And so making connections with people like that is also incredibly helpful.
Very nice. I like that a lot. So having raised 2 boys, I'm watching 2 granddaughters grow up, certainly not in the same house, so I'm not getting that experience, but I've heard stories of the difference between raising a daughter and a son, so yeah.
I
Uh,
have 2 girls and a boy, and
y
there is a drastic difference.
have any of your kids shown interest in taking pictures?
Oh, yes.
Good.
Yes. So I did a series of, or I had them do a series of branding photos using my camera. My husband held the camera so they didn't drop it, but I do try to let them and other clients who have young kids who are interested explore my camera as we're kind of playing and shooting because I love fostering that interest. But my kids also have, I got for Christmas from somebody one year, like a little, play digital
Mhm.
camera, and it uses heat censored paper, and so it's just like these black and white images, but they love going around and
Yep,
just like taking images of literally everything. And it just spits out these pieces of paper, but they're just so
yeah.
happy with this idea that they get to capture what's around them.
That's what Maggie got for, Christmas. She got one of those and could not put it down for a week, yeah.
It's so
So,
fun.
everywhere she walked, she would take pictures.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Alright, so now is time for the no overthinking round.
Okay.
Okay, so snow or no snow?
No,
A lot or little?
a little.
Okay. What is something people assume about your business that is totally wrong?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you have 42 cameras?
No, I have two.
Okay. So people assume either you've got a bunch or, oh, one camera works everywhere. And that's mostly true, right?
It is mostly true. It's more with lenses. People assume one lens
Ah,
will
okay.
work
Gotcha.
everywhere.
Right. If your business had a mascot, what would it be?
My first thought was somebody on a trampoline.
Okay. That works for
I
me.
don't know.
You're bouncing around family to family, right? You're certainly
Yeah.
getting ready to take pictures of kids who are bouncing around. So,
Right, and
yeah,
who's unhappy on a trampoline? Nobody.
nobody knows except me. Yeah. So, if and when they make a movie about you, who would you want to play you?
Anne Hathaway.
Oh, good call. I see that. Okay. Is your work email inbox organized or chaotic?
Chaotic.
Is there any chance of it ever being organized?
No.
Okay.
I am very type A. Email is not where that shines.
Is his email box organized?
Oh, no. No,
Okay.
chaotic. So chaotic.
Because usually one's one to like, I always laugh with my wife. I'm the gas and she's the brakes.
Yep.
That's what's gotten us to 40 years. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
do you prefer the mountain or the ocean?
Mountains.
Back when you were managing people, because I think right now it's just you, right? In your
Correct.
okay. And are you going to grow that one day?
Um, I don't know if I will grow in terms of a team. I could see the value in having a virtual assistant
Gotcha.
one day.
Okay.
I would like to expand into the education space, and so that would be somebody who can help keep me organized I am very organized, I should say. My email inbox is chaotic, but I always respond to people in a very timely manner. I'm just not good at like deleting spam. So I have like
I
600
Yep,
emails unread in my inbox, but
I
because those are the ones I don't care about.
I feel your pain, yeah. Back when you were managing a team, what's one word they would have used to describe you as a boss?
Awful.
Very nice, very nice. When you are saying things to your kids, do you hear your mother's voice or your father's voice in your head?
My mother's.
How so your oldest child is how old?
7.
Okay. How long is a boy or a girl?
Girl.
Okay. How long into her lifetime did you say something to her and then stop yourself and say, "Oh, my mother says that."
I mean, only a couple of years,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
same thing with my wife. Love that mother-daughter relationship and dynamic,
I
so,
know.
morning or evening person?
Morning.
What do you define as morning, and how early do you get up, and or when's your creative time?
I am most creative between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Okay.
In term and I'm most again, I can do the most amount of work. I'm most on the
Right.
ball between those times. I define morning, 7 a.m.
Okay.
ish. My kids tend to wake up around 6:37.
I wish more people would understand their window of whatever they do to get the most
Hmm.
amount of work done. Mine is real early. I'm one of those old people that's always up early. But man, in the morning before, oh yeah, wonderful time. And some people do it best in the evening once everybody's gone to bed. So I think that's
Yep,
underrated. For
I agree.
2026, what is the one thing you are most excited about for your business?
Mm. I am most excited about connecting with these neurodivergent and medically complex families.
Right?
I have been blown away by the positive reception from the communities that I have reached out to, the experts that I have reached out to. And so frequently, I hear from families, we've never met anybody who can do this like you. Because I have a lot of experience with working with people who identify as neurodivergent. I have a love for all people. And unfortunately, so many of these families have never met somebody who is comfortable walking into their home with everything they have going on and capturing their authentic love the way they want to see it. And I think that's a shame. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to just keep meeting and serving these families and working with them, and showing them that they can have the same beautiful photos that everybody else has.
Well, in true BNI form, I have somebody I'm going to introduce you to, but we'll talk about that later. Um, Somebody listening to the show today, let's assume they want to start their own photography business.
Mhm.
What's one or two things they need in place or getting it in place to, let's just say, get off to a reasonably successful start?
I mean, number one is you need to know how to take a quality photo, and you need to know how to edit it well. There are many, many photographers out there who purchase a digital camera, a DSLR, and start trying to charge right away, and they don't know how to expose properly, for example. So knowing kind of how not knowing how to edit a photo, knowing how to take a properly exposed photo is key. Beyond that, I would say a website, literally any website. It doesn't have to be perfect, but having examples like your portfolio up, ways for people to contact you. Not only is this helpful for clients who want to choose somebody, but also in showing that you are professional and serious about your work. I think those are all incredibly important.
From a business owner standpoint, what tip or tips would you share with them, regardless of their business?
Hire a CPA.
Sweet.
I I know a handful of photographers who didn't realize that they had to be paying sales and use tax in Wake County, for example, and had their LLCs shut down until they could rectify the problem. And so I was fortunate that we already had a CPA for our family. And so she was able to help me file for the correct licenses and set up my banks and everything that I needed so that I was able to accurately pay taxes and track everything from the beginning.
Very nice. That's great advice. There's a couple I always tell business owners, two things you should outsource the day before you open. One is get a bookkeeper. and in this case, a
Mhm.
CPA, and then
Mhm.
outsource your social media because you may be good at it for a little while, but you won't be consistent with it, and you can't post once every 3 weeks and expect to get any traction. So, uh,
That is true.
all right, so we've been putting Devin's phone number on the screen here, folks. Your phone is good, but it doesn't serve. If I may say this, hopefully, Devin, I'm saying it correctly. It doesn't serve the purpose of what you're trying to accomplish. And
Mhm.
only in the hands that I tell people every week, there's certain things we need to go to professionals and a professional photographer because you're gonna want that picture on the wall for a long, long time. So please reach out to Devin. Devin, what is your website address?
It is www.devindesjarlais.com.
Okay. If you just start typing Dejar or something in, it'll come up. So, because I did that, there's a football player named Devin Desjarlais that came up when I first started typing that in. It's like, all right, it's not who I'm looking for, but
There is. We're Facebook friends.
are you really?
Yeah, I've never met him, but when it's the only other person in the country with
Yeah.
your exact name, you kind of just have to know each other.
Yeah. And he can't be as cool as you. So I got the best of the two Devins on the show today. So,
I agree.
anyways, enjoyed having you on the show today. And folks, I need to brag on Devin for a second because we met a month ago, maybe briefly. I was
Mhm.
visiting your chapter and I was inspired by your presence in the room when you stood up to talk about what you did.
Thank
Have
you.
not seen anybody in a while with that kind of command in a room. So, because after the meeting, I was talking to Angela and I said, I need to get Devin on my show, don't I? And she goes, yes, you do. So I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you could make it today. Love the stories. And cool. I did not expect to hear that your husband took your name. Too
Mhm.
cool. I like that. And that says a lot about him. And it really says a lot about your dad.
It does.
That,
I'm very fortunate
yeah.
to
So
have some
good for
amazing
you.
people in my life.
All right,
Thank
folks.
you.
You've got high school graduations, family summer gatherings. Book Devin for the holidays. If you know family's coming in December, get on her calendar right now because she's going to be booked. So get on there now. So, but anyways, Devin, thanks for coming on the show today. It was a blast.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
And we will see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.